Well, good morning. This is Unbound Live. Something I'm doing for 35 days. This is day 3. And as we get going here this morning, if you've missed this or you come in late and it's not live, you can see them on the YouTube channel. That's sort of the way things are. Always an archive, right? Well. What does it look like to be unbound? Before I get into today's topic, just ask yourself that question. What does it look like? What does it look like to live a life that's untethered? Now, see, for a lot of people, they think, well, I'm free from something. I'm finally free of this, or I'm free from that. That's not the point. The point is not to be free from or of. The point is to be free for. And that is free first and foremost for life. Now, a lot of folks don't know how to handle this, especially people of the faith. Like, I don't know what's really going on, or how I did this. What does it mean? I'm free in Jesus. Okay, great. I don't disagree. But what I want you to understand is that there's a lot of things inside of you, even your faith, that is tethered. You're not living authentically, that you're just giving platitudes. You're running an operating system. And so this morning, as we get going, I'm going to send out a little link here to some folks so they know that I'm ready to roll. And then we'll get started on today's subject. This is what live's all about. Sometimes things just don't work well. And you have to improvise here if you can. All right. Let's get started. This is day 3, guys. Day 3. And this is probably one I've been looking forward to more than anything. I mean, I look forward to all of them. I have so much that I want to talk about. Today, I want to talk specifically about something that I think is the single most invisible source of human suffering that I have ever encountered. Okay? It's more invisible than trauma, more invisible than fear, than any of the usual suspects. And I call it, and other people like me call it, the invisible contract. The invisible contract. Before this morning is over, I want to say that you're going to at least see one of yours. And when you see it, when you see the invisible contract, when it becomes obvious, something's going to change in you. You're going to have a shift. Not all the way, not completely. You're going to have a 1-degree shift. And that 1-degree shift is going to be enough to matter. Okay? An invisible contract is an unspoken, unacknowledged agreement that you operate under without knowing it. Remember that governs your behavior, your relationships, and your sense of self. It's not a rule that anyone gave you. It's not anything that you wrote down or somebody told you. It's not a decision that you made consciously. It's an understanding. And it's an understanding that's absorbed, learned, and internalized, usually really early in life. And in response, often to what felt like the need to survive. And it goes something like this. If I am this, whatever this is, then I will be loved. If I do this, then I will be safe. If I perform this version of myself consistently, then people I need will stay in my life. Every one of us has them. And there are many other ways for these things to operate. Every single person listening to me this morning or watching this video is running at least one invisible contract at this time, right now. Most of us are running several. And most of us have been running them for so long that we don't experience them as contracts anymore. We experience them as just, hey, this is who I am. This is how I think. That's the trap. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. But here's the killer. Here is what invisible contracts cost you over time. Three things. First, they cost you energy, a staggering, relentless amount of energy. Because maintaining a contract, living up to an unspoken agreement that you never consciously chose, also the fact that we'll talk about this later, we usually require other people to fulfill these contracts. The energy here, it requires constant performance. You're always monitoring, adjusting, making sure you're being what the contract requires. Even when you're not thinking about it, the operating system is running underneath everything that you do. Second, they cost you relationships. Because when you are operating from an IC, from an invisible contract, you're not actually in relationship with the other person. You're in relationship with the contract, the idea, the agreement. And the person on the other side of you, they're not in relationship with you either. They're in relationship with the performance, with the mask, with the version that you display, that you show up as, which means neither of you actually knows the other person. You know the role, the function, but not each other. And third, and this is the one that takes the most time to see, invisible contracts cost you yourself. Because the version of you that gets expressed through years of invisible contract performance is not actually you. It's a function. It's a survival adaptation. It is who you learn to be in order to make the contract work. And the real you, the one underneath the contracts, has been waiting patiently, or not so patiently, for a chance to breathe. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. You've felt that waiting. You've felt the gap between who you perform and who you actually are or feel like you should be. It shows up as restlessness, sometimes as a quiet, chronic dissatisfaction that you can't put your finger on, you can't name. And the sense that you're always slightly outside of your own life and outside of your own control and choices. Present, functioning, performing well, maybe, but not quite home. That's the invisible contract running in the background. And today we start learning to see it. I ran an invisible contract for most of my adult life that went something sort of like this. If I'm the strongest person in the room, if I never need anything, never ask for help, never let anyone see the parts of me that are uncertain or unfinished, then I earn my place and I have my value. I'm worth keeping. Then the people I love won't leave me. They won't ignore me, and they won't abandon me. I didn't know I believed that. I would have told you I didn't believe that if you'd said, hey, you believe this? I had a whole theology about vulnerability and authenticity. I taught it. People paid me to teach it. And underneath all of it, I was running that contract every single day, never asking, never needing, never letting the room see me without the performance fully intact. Because by and large, I learned that even as an adult, when I couldn't be 100%, I was worth nothing. Cost of that was March of 2023, when the contract finally stopped working. Well, it stopped working before then, but that was it. That was the cliff moment. When the performance finally became unsustainable, I had nothing underneath it because I had never built anything underneath it. I put every resource I had into maintaining the surface. And the work of these 35 days, the work I've done since April 8th, 2023, has been learning to live without a contract, learning to show up as the actual human being, the person, rather than the function. It is the most demanding and the most rewarding thing I have ever done. Oh, goodness. A hall moment. You hear me talk about these things a lot. Honesty aligns liberation's possessive language. Is almost always the moment in an invisible contract when it becomes visible. That's the honesty, seeing the agreement you've been honoring, seeing it clearly for the first time as a choice. something that you have been doing rather than something you simply are. And when that honesty lands, something lines up. The language of your own liberation starts to form because now you can see the door you didn't know was there. Now you can make a real decision, a free decision about whether you want to keep the contract or renegotiate it. You cannot renegotiate what you cannot see. And the hall moment is the seeing. So let me give you some handles for finding your own invisible contracts. They live in your resentments, wherever you feel chronically unappreciated, overlooked, unseen. There's almost always an invisible contract underneath. You've been performing something, hoping for a return that was never explicitly agreed to. And when the return doesn't come, the resentment begins to build. The entitlement gets heavy. They live in your compliance. Wherever you consistently say yes when you mean no. Wherever you shrink, defer, accommodate, take the blame in ways that cost you. There's a contract governing that behavior. A quiet belief that your boundaries are too expensive. Your actual needs will break something important. And maybe you've been told that directly. Gosh, you're so needy. You're so too much. I don't want the trauma dump. And these contracts live in your identity. The roles you play so thoroughly, you've forgotten that they're roles. The pastor, the strong one, the fixer, the one who always knows what to do. Those roles are not you. They are contracts you inherited and have been maintaining every single day since. So I'm going to ask you to do just one thing today. Pick one relationship, one, and ask yourself in a review, in a sort of an evaluation, what is the unspoken agreement I'm operating under in this relationship? What do I believe I have to do, I have to be, or provide, without ever saying it out loud, in order for this relationship to work? Don't judge it. Don't indict yourself. Don't try to end it. Don't try to make changes. Just name it and write it down if you can, because the moment you can name it, you are no longer completely inside it. You have stepped just far enough outside of it to see the shape. And that's where the work begins. So day 3, we are building something here, morning by morning, 35 days. Tomorrow, I want to talk about the moment when the invisible becomes undeniable. The moment you see something about yourself so clearly that you cannot go back to not seeing it. The hall moment in its fullest form. Bring somebody with you tomorrow. Somebody who may need this. This content is too useful to sit in a small room. So you know that. Be well. I'll see you in the morning. Let's set you free.